Hey, everybody, all you passion pourers out there. Welcome to the Thirsty Professional, where today we're welcoming again Vandana Puranik for an encore appearance to talk about her new book, Might. It is mighty good. So much gold in this book. 100%. You got to get this. Go grab your favorite bevy. We'll be back in a flash.
Welcome to the space where truth is poured. No corporate scripts, just tales explored. From passion quest to purpose found, the thirsty professional breaks new ground. So fill your cup, let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Thirsty Professional. This is a place where we grab a bevy, we ditch the BS, and we get real about careers, purpose, and passion. I'm your host, 𝗬𝗠𝗏, former corporate queen who traded in her crown for a pen and a microphone. I am author of the award-winning Where the Hell's My Bacon and soon-to-be bestseller, The R.I.P. Files, Case of the Demon Drums, my first novel coming out in October. So excited about that. If you're watching live, please let us know you're here in the comments, where you're from, and most importantly, what are you drinking today? If you're watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And of course, let us know if you have any questions, comments, or feedback so we can address it during the live stream or after the fact, if as the case may be. All right, today my very special guest on The Thirsty Professional is Vandana Puranik. Vandana is a Thinkfluencer, a TEDx and international speaker. She is a brand and business builder, a best-selling author. And she was a guest on The Thirsty Professional back in April, and we had an amazing discussion about her battle with breast cancer, being in an induced coma for 2 weeks, her amazing posse of bad bitches, so much more. Since her appearance, Vandana has released her book, Might, which is, I'm not even joking, truly amazing. I have dozens of books, self-help books on my shelf, on my Kindle. I've never finished them or even started. Great concepts, but just this one, devoured. I literally devoured. I could almost eat it, literally. So many diamonds in this book that are going to make you go, ah, yes. And you're going to mark up your book with all kinds of notes and highlights like I did. So that you're going to need a second copy. We're going to talk about Might today. I cannot wait. So thrilled to have this bad bitch back. Please welcome Vandana Puranik. Vandana, welcome.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, what an intro. Love that. Everybody should talk about me that way.
Oh my God, so true. For the audience out there, I was sort of fangirl gushing about Might because I love a good self-help book, but so many of them just don't resonate with me and the way they're written, or they drone on. And yours is so good. I got to stop because we're going to talk so much about it. But I want to welcome you to the show. What are you drinking today, Vandana?
So,
everybody.
I have to. First of all, it's so freaking hot. Secondly, it is like because of my current situation as well, medical situation, I just have to drink as much water as I can. So what I try to do is put them in nice glasses. You see? Nice
I do the same thing. I go to the dollar store and I
Mhm.
get like for $1.25, I get these beautiful, like they look like big wine glasses, but I think they're water glasses, like fancy water glasses
Yeah.
with the stem. And that's what I drink. Water. I drink soda, whatever, because it
Yeah.
just makes me feel
Yeah.
luxurious.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
no shame in that game.
somehow it tastes better. It's easier going down. So
Right, exactly. Well, and the water thing too. I mean, it's getting back up into heat wave here in Virginia. Where are you from? Where let our
in
audience know where
Toronto, I'm in Toronto right
Toronto.
now.
So you're
And it's been so hot.
yeah.
And I'm talking like, you know, up to like 115 degrees.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
You're
like
in Canada.
and
What's
that but it's also the humidity, right?
yeah.
So it's just I mean, I don't know where in Virginia you are, like if you're inland. You know, I went to Duke, so I have this tie to Virginia in
Yeah.
a friendship way. And then but here it's like we have Lake Ontario here,
Yeah.
and it's just with the humidity, it's crazy. So
Yeah, we have
it's been multiple times this year, like way more than normal. So I don't know. the global warming thing. I'm not so sure climate change is not a myth. So
Yeah, it's been ugly here too, and we're of course in the southeast of the U.S., which is notorious for its humidity. But
yeah,
we had a cool down, and then we were just having lovely weather, and then all my Michigan friends, which is borders Canada, for
yeah,
those of you who don't know, they were saying, "Oh my God, yeah, it was like in the 90s, which is in like the 30s for you anybody out there in Europe." And and I think it's coming our way again, and it's probably hit you.
yeah.
You're that's hot
It's
for
hot. It's
yeah.
really. But today is a beautiful day. I mean, it's still hot, but it's not like that. And then in the middle of everything, we didn't realize our air conditioner was broken. We just thought like, man, it has to work. You know what? It's so hot that the air conditioner can't even keep up. Meanwhile, we had no idea it wasn't working properly. Like it was nicer outside than it was inside the house.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. But it's fixed now. So moving forward.
Wandana, I talk to so many people in Europe, and even in places like Spain where it's notoriously warm, and they none of them they are not like our side of the world where air conditioning, even in Toronto area,
Yeah.
which is Canada, which is north, everybody. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm making an assumption here, but I would assume it's like here everybody's got an air conditioner of some
Yeah,
sort.
it's pretty much like the US. I mean, there's certain homes that don't because they choose not to have it or they can't afford it.
Right, right.
But same thing here. It's like, pretty much you walk around, everybody's got air conditioning. And you know what? We were trying to just be in the car much more at that
Well,
point.
because it's a small space, it gets colder, right? We
Yeah,
have the same issue. Like we have an air conditioner, a full house, so central air, and once it gets into like the upper 80s, 90s, real hot, it really doesn't keep up. Even when it's working well, you're not going to get your house bone chilling unless you have like a massive unit, which we don't. So
yeah, yeah.
you just do what you have to
We just
do.
upgraded it, enlarged.
Mm. See, I wish we went with kind of the medium. We had to replace ours a year after we moved in, which is 4 years ago. So it's relatively new. So I can't complain. But we went with kind of the mid level, and I just sort of wish I had gone with the high one right now. But you know what? I'm still forever grateful that we have something. So
Exactly.
anyway, well, let's kick it off.
Mm,
Wanda, I wanted if we could let our audience know, just to level set, what do you do? What's your career, and then your passion and your purpose, kind of around your career, before we dive into might.
yeah, I'd love to share. So I'm a marketer and strategist by profession. Did the corporate and consulting thing for about 25, 30 years. And yeah, and then
Sorry.
then I thought, you know what? First of all, I'm bored because you start seeing the same problems over and over again. And then the other side to that was that not only am I seeing the same problems, but I am blown away by the human capacity to brilliantly solve the wrong problems again and again and again. So it's like a double whammy. And I thought, oh my God, I'm on a quest to change that. We got to be better thinkers. We got to be swifter and smarter decision makers. And I really feel like if we were doing that, the world would be in a very different place today. And not only that, but my objective, if I look at my brand now, it's all about helping people feel limitless. And that is the benefit that I want people to feel. And the way you feel that is, not being stuck, right? So that means you always have to create options for yourselves. So this is a book about how to help you create options for yourselves and how to think through things differently so that you're never stuck. And it's just
I love
that's
it.
kind of what motivated me. And I've spoken about it. I write about it. I like the topic in terms of how to solve the impossible. And I want people to feel that freedom by, creating choices. Yes, by having that might.
Well, first of all, I love your statement or your quote that you used something similar last time when you were here.
Hmm.
I'm blown away by the human capacity to brilliantly solve the wrong problem.
Hmm.
I have hundreds literally hundreds of, probably approaching thousands of clips from my less than 30 episodes out on YouTube Shorts. That is in my top 5 of views, is
Wow.
that statement. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is the kind of the crux of it, is really sort of the core concept of might. So let's talk about might, baby. Let's
Yeah.
talk. Okay, so let's give us you kind of already did, but let's give us a little high level summary. What is might about, and who should read this? Hint: everybody should read this, but who, from
Yeah.
your
I
publisher
definitely, yeah,
perspective?
I definitely wanted to make it very universal and easy to consume because, as you said so eloquently before, you know what? We have all these great books, and sometimes it's just a hard read,
Yeah,
and then they become, useless, right? If they're
right.
just sit on the shelf. So I didn't. I was very, very much, very intent on making that, you know, not happen. Um, so to me, might is a double entendre and words matter, right? So to me, everything I have named is critical. So for me, when I finally figured out that the name should be might, it made sense because it's a double entendre meaning power and possibility. So the power
Ooh,
to solve the impossible and change everything, and might as in how might we solve this. So where do you go when nothing seems to work, or you've tried everything and it's not working. So it's sorry, where do you go when you don't know where to begin? um and so for me it really spoke to what the book tries to do, and it's all about changing the way you think through things. And it's not that we're not capable, it's just we just don't know sometimes.
yeah,
And so much of it is neuroplasticity, and that's great, neuroscience, that's great, but so much of it is just logic. And a lot
yes.
of the principles that we talk about in the book have great examples with them, so at least you can see, okay, that's what that means. So it's
Yeah.
really all about yeah, power and possibility.
I love it. You talk right up right up front in the introduction about the core concept of this book, which is about solving. You say it's solving what matters.
Hmm.
Why aren't we solving what matters? What's wrong
Yeah.
with us?
um there's a lot of work that's been done. I think the reason it happens, and this is, I always say, solve for the outcome, not the problem. And that's when you solve for what matters. Because what happens is you solve for a goal. You're not just solving a problem, because if you're just solving for what's in front of you, how do you know it's the right problem? I just went through this discussion last night with a bunch of founders. How do you know it's the right problem? How do you know it's the only one? How do you know it's not attached to anything else? How do you know who brought it up or how it got there? There's just so many unanswered questions that if you only look at the problem or look at the one thing, then you become problem centric, and
Oh my
then
God.
you become
Yes.
cognitively rigid, because then when new information comes in, all you're thinking about is a problem. You're not thinking about the outcome. So then you ignore it,
Oh,
or you're not as open to it. So solving what matters really means, figure out what it is that you're trying to achieve,
yeah.
because everything else doesn't matter.
It's so core for me, just in the journey that I've been on in the last year, with
Hmm.
mindset. It's
Hmm.
so core. Mindset 101 is that we're looking at our reality, which in this case is usually the problem. And it had the first of all, reality has many different facets, right? We're looking at it from our perspective, but
Hmm.
it also brings all these things up, our beliefs and our habits and our paradigms and the things that because we're seeing this as reality. So therefore, 2 + 2 = 4. We're not thinking out to beyond reality, right? Reality, I think, limits us. So you talk about, being limitless. I think that solving the problem is us looking at the here and now reality and
Right.
not. And that's for anybody who's, a manifester, that's 101.
It's interesting because when I was in my coma, you get to experience reality in a very different way.
I know, I remember. It was
And so
amazing.
it was one of those things where, like, I was flying all over the world and all through galaxies and dimensions and landing in places like a fly on the wall. and you start to see like, oh my God, this is their reality. This is the like whatever you envision is what becomes your reality. And I just realized that, gosh, there's so many things that are humanly possible right now that are just not being done. And so the opportunities are vast, but you are totally right on when you say it's only what we see as reality.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times as people, you'll hear people say like, well, this is the way we've always done it. Like, this is what works.
Right.
This is the only way. And it's not just in professional life, it's also in our personal lives.
Oh, 100%. That's that
So-
belief and that history that comes into it's everything in the past leading up to this point.
Mhm.
But what's beyond this point is can be wholly different, right? And I love how you framed it, solving for the outcome versus the problem. It
Mhm.
was just a little different of a twist of a way to explain that really made sense to me.
Yeah.
Let me double check in with our folks here. I am not seeing any comments come in, but this is I know a couple people told me they were definitely yeah. So it looks like maybe there's some glitches going on. Sorry, folks, if you're out there. It says it's waiting for the host to start. So some people are watching on YouTube, and I don't get the notes on YouTube, so we'll address those later. But appreciate those folks who are trying to jump in. We can never predict. I probably should just get an upgrade on Restream. It's been pretty good, but sometimes it does glitch a little bit. But no worries. This will be out there for the replay, and hopefully some folks will be able to come in. Okay, so one of the things, you mentioned this before, one of the things I love most, and there's so many things I love about Might, are your examples. So you talked about how in most of the concepts that you have in here, you've got some great examples to illustrate the actual the concept. You have some of my favorites, even right up in the front in the first chapter. You talk about polio and how when polio was a problem, a big problem, people were solving for how do I treat polio versus how do we get to the root cause of preventing polio, and then now we have a polio vaccine. You talk about Jim Carrey, one of my favorite. He's a big manifester. Do you have a favorite example that you've used? Because you have a lot of them in here, and they're all amazing.
God,
Short and easy to read. I mean, they're just great little snippets of aha.
Okay, so it's not necessarily my favorite. It's one of my favorites, but I think it's the one that most easily demonstrates about solving for the problem. And that's the example of weeding. When we have a garden, we're weeding all the time, right? And
Yes.
what the frig are we doing? Like, honestly, like, what are we doing? Like, you're basically solving for the problem, but you haven't solved for the outcome, which is stopping the weeds from growing in the first place.
Yeah.
So, or having a beautiful garden or whatever, whatever your goal is. So it's by pulling weeds, we're not solving anything. We're just creating more work for ourselves. So imagine if you didn't do that and you freed up all your time, what would you do with those extra, 20 minutes or half hour or, 3 hours for some people? And how much more could you accomplish? How much more thinking time could you use to work on projects that you really want to do? So the weeding thing, I think, is a really good example, and it's an instant example that I can think of.
Yeah.
One of my other favorites actually is about the pen and NASA and the pen in space. And then, and people think it's a true story, but it's an incomplete story, right? So they think, oh yeah, the US was trying to invent this like pen that would, work in space, and, because obviously in zero gravity, everything is all over the place. And then the story is that, and the Russians just used a pencil. But the thing is that that's not correct either, because there are some really big issues with using a pencil. So
Yeah.
that's actually not what happened. So there was a gentleman that invented a zero gravity pen, and it's underwater pen, zero gravity pen, like it works in all different scenarios, and sold it for $2.35.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And what did that take? It just took, and we're spending millions on trying to figure this problem out. Really?
Yeah.
Like, we got to be better than that. So, that's one of my favorite examples.
Yeah, I love this. You're reminding me of a little dilemma that I had recently where I was, and it was involving clips for this show,
Yeah.
and I was spending hours and hours and hours. I would take the full episode. I would break it into clips in an application, and then I would pull it into another application, and I would format it because it wasn't doing it very efficiently. So I was trying to. I kept coming up with these more. How can I be more efficient? How can I be quicker? But again, focusing on the problem. And ultimately, I never thought, well, Beth, go back to the beginning. You can just format the whole video and then clip it up, and then you save, doing this 30 or 40 times. Again, not solving for the right problem. I was just trying to save myself a little bit more time. Oh, we got Stella joining. She found us. Hi, Stella. We have been having, apparently, Doris Walsh is joining us on YouTube, and she was letting us know that maybe there were some glitches on the LinkedIn end. So I'm glad you found us. I was happy to have you here. Okay. So, what else? I got a whole list of stuff I want to dive into, and then we can, if there's anything that, you want to point out too. Okay. So I'm going to go to the chapter. So there's a chapter called Nothing Else Matters.
Yeah.
A section on, why multitasking fails, which I think is still such a great topic for both. I dealt with this, in corporate as a traditional employee. I dealt with this as, I'm dealing with it as an entrepreneur. So I think this really is very broad and appeals to everybody. Why do you think we still think that multitasking that it works?
I think people are under this false impression that when we're doing multiple things, we're getting a lot more done. And it's actually quite the opposite, because that's not the way your brain works, right? Your brain can only go in one direction at a time. And I don't mean that, it's not like neuroscience doesn't matter, but neuroscience does matter. That's exactly the opposite.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things where when you're multitasking, you're actually switching on and off between tasks. And so I think there's a big distinction that people just don't understand. And you don't understand it because you've never been taught it, or you've never been exposed to the idea. Because how many times in our past have we heard multitasking is, you got to learn to multitask?
Oh yeah, it still, I think, is in a lot of sectors. It's still considered, it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, it's a badge of
honor.
honor.
Yeah, I can multitask. No, you can't really.
But it's not like walking and chewing gum, right? That's not the kind of multitasking we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about cognitive multitasking. Yeah. Like when you have to get stuff done and you're focused on something. And why? Like, it's funny because I have a tendency to be hyper focused on whatever I'm doing. Like, I'm here with you. I'm 100% here with you. I'm listening to every single word, and that's all I'm going to do. Nothing else matters in this moment to me. Same thing with, when I'm working, when I'm writing, when I'm, reading my billionaire mafia romance books and,
of course.
Watching, because it's either thought leadership or that. So,
that's a whole episode.
Yeah, that's a whole episode. But and you lose yourself. But when you lose yourself, what are you doing? You're hyper focused on something, right? Yeah. So it's actually, you can only do one thing at a time, and it's this false belief. I think it happens a lot because of what we've been taught in the past.
Yeah,
and as you said, it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, work harder. I mean, this is very, very ubiquitous in the corporate world for me. And I still see it because what I see happening a lot now, especially with jobs and the job market, is somebody leaves or gets let go, or there's cuts made, or somebody gets bought out. And so there's a headcount reduction that never gets filled, and that just goes to other people because, well, they're good, they're smart, they'll figure it out. And they do for a while, but then you get completely burned out. Yeah. I deal with it still, even as an entrepreneur. And I think part of the myth for me and for a lot of people is we still believe that if it's okay to do multiple things, and I can just go right back to whatever I was doing, but that's not the case. I mean, there have been studies about the loss of productivity, because your brain doesn't just automatically, you can't go and I'm deep in concentration. Oh shit, there's an email. Then somebody's getting me over here and I'm getting a call. And then it takes you a while then to get back into whatever you were doing. You lose it.
It's exactly right. It's just the way the brain functions. And even Einstein was like that. Like, it's not, because you say you can multitask and know your brain is different. No, It doesn't.
Well, and again, I think for what you made a great point earlier when you talked about this is not walking and chewing gum. This is not I have the baby in one arm and I'm nurturing the baby, getting it to sleep, and I'm talking to my friend on the other arm or watching a game. Yeah, we can do that, but that's mindless sort of work when you have to actually think about something. Yeah.
Cognitive stuff that you can't.
Right. People get really offended when you say, well, no, we can't really multitask in the way you think. Or if someone were to imply that you're just not a good multitasker, it's like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not an insult. Right.
It's a big win. So
yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Anything else on multitasking? Cause I got stuff I got.
No. And you can fire away. I'm like, we can.
Let's go. Let me pull up a couple comments here. Stella Scott said she was going to prepare her latte. Love it, Stella. Tom Probus, my friend Tom, is on here now, and he says Henry Ford learned that people doing one thing on an assembly line made the entire operation more efficient overall. Multitasking, diseconomies of scale. Yeah,
beautiful.
Good example. See, you can use that one in your next book.
Yeah. You know what? I have to tell you. So this is the first of a series of 4 books. And
I was going to ask you. I know. So tell me. Yes.
So what I was going to tell you is that I won't tell you what the books are called, but I will tell you that when you put them all face forward next to each other, they'll read like a sentence.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So super excited about that.
So can you tell us anything about what's the next one coming up is going to be around? No?
But I have an offer for people who are interested. You have the opportunity to be part of that book. Any of the next books. And I'm looking for kind of counterintuitive stories. Let's put it that way. So this notion of being counterintuitive and actually being far more productive and actually being the quote unquote right answer kind of blows me away. And it happens everywhere. It happened in my medical situation. It happens in day-to-day stuff. It happens in my work-related stuff. It's just, you just don't realize like how huge of an impact that has. So if people have really cool stories thinking that, hey, that shouldn't have happened, but it did, and it was awesome. It's like peanut butter and chocolate, right? Like nobody was expecting that. And all of a sudden you put it together. It's like, wow, this is really good. On their own, they're really good too. But man, when you put them together, it's magic. So those kinds of examples, if you have those, then by all means, I'll send you the Google form that you can post in the
that'd be awesome. Yeah,
the links.
Yeah, we'll definitely get that out there. I love those examples like peanut butter and jelly. So I'm going to tangent off here for a second, but do you ever observe something and you think, how did somebody figure that out? How did somebody figure out how to make chocolate out of cacao beans? How to make beer? How did bread come about? Bread I could kind of figure out because if somebody left some porridge or whatever out in it. But
I have a really good one for you.
Tell me. I love this shit.
Of course it's like food. It's all about food. But somebody actually said, here's a chicken and a big white ball comes out of its butt. Let's eat that.
Well, but I will tell you that that doesn't sound crazy to me because I will bet people were eating eggs. Early humans were probably likely eating eggs. So at some point, some early human decided that they were finding some egg of something and they were eating that. And okay, that's, nourishment. So that's not so far of a stretch for me because, I mean, who is the first person who decided that something that comes out of anything's butt is.
Yeah. And you've heard of like these, oh my God, cat's ass coffee. You've heard of that?
Yeah. Is that where, I hate to ask, is that where they take poop and like roast it? And yeah, I have heard of that.
And apparently it tastes way better than just the coffee bean. So
that just sounds gross. That sounds unhealthy.
It sounds unhealthy. I've actually had a sip of it just because I wanted to, like, it doesn't really taste any different or anything to me, but I'm not a coffee connoisseur. So
yeah.
Talk about beverages a lot. Maybe that's something you should try once,
I'm a coffee snob, but I put so much crap in it that you really can't. So I spend a lot of money on good coffee from small farmers and such. But then I put like hot cocoa in it. So I'm sorry, coffee,
And my
real
husband does
coffee.
like cocoa and coffee.
Yeah, like a mocha. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's like
It
when I
takes
was pregnant, he used to do that for me all the time. Loved it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great, but then somebody might argue, why don't you just buy the cheap coffee if you're just going to put cocoa or put chocolate in it or cream or whatever? I don't know. I can't explain it. Anyway, all right, moving on. I'm going to go to things are not always as they appear. There's a section
Yeah.
called the danger of assumptions, which I
Yeah.
know in my world as facts and stories. I love this concept so much. And this is I'm going to I'm going to read a little excerpt if you're okay with from
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
from this
Absolutely.
chapter.
Yeah.
We do this all the time at work, in relationships, in decision making. We assume we understand a situation, confident in our view, without realizing our perception may be the trick. And I have used the example on this show of my experience with a particular intersection on a route that I travel once a week. And there's an intersection where the two sides have to stop, and inevitably it's farmland, it's a curve, there's corn. Some pickup truck, various pickup trucks will pull in front of me and I have to slow down. It's not a, near miss, but it's enough that it irritates me. And before I was aware of this whole concept of these making these assumptions and the danger of assumptions, I would get so mad, like, oh, this guy hates women. He hates foreign cars. He's a misogynist. He's just pissed at me or whatever. He doesn't, whatever. All these things, and my rage would build. Now I'm behind this old pickup truck going 35 miles an hour when I'm supposed to be going 55, maybe 60 for me. And it's building and it's building. And then when I realized this, because this happens almost every time, I thought, Beth, this guy doesn't give a shit about you. He's not even probably aware. He probably didn't see you. He certainly can't tell if you're a woman from that distance. He doesn't probably know the make of your car. He's some old guy who thought the road was clear or thought he was going faster than he was. It doesn't matter. The fact is, the guy pulled in front of you. You had to slow down a little bit, and that's it. There is nothing else to assume.
Yep.
And yet I built this rage, and I can see how, in certain situations, to an extreme, and certainly lesser situations that aren't that extreme for road rage, but
we
it
create
happens
these
all
false
the
stories.
time.
Yeah, we create these false stories in our head. And it's like, when you think, like, when you feel like the impending doom of something, and it's like, usually it's like nothing happens. We
No.
create far more distress in our own minds than what reality is. So
Yeah.
if you just, putting the blinders on is good. It's like I always tell people, there's certain principles. Like, once again, this is counterintuitive. Putting the blinders on sometimes is good. You don't have to be perfect at everything, because things will even out anyway. Like, there's just so many principles like that are phenomenal. There was one other one that I was going to mention, I just forgot. So if I remember it,
Yeah, if you remember, so this idea of assumptions and how we just make up stuff wholesale. I had no idea how widespread this was in my life until once I became aware of it, and I still do it. I will make up shit. Walking my dog, I'll hear a dog barking, and I'll think, okay, what if the dog's going to come out? The dog's going to attack us. I'm going to have to call. I did it just this morning. I was like, here's a scenario. All right, there was a truck, and I thought, I'm going to be behind the truck. It's parked. It was a small truck, but somebody's going to come around this curve. They're going to hit the truck. They're going to hit me. And I made up this whole scenario of calling the police, and I thought, what am I doing?
Exactly.
What am I? I'm just making stuff up. We make assumptions about people's intent. And I think if I had known this stuff when I was in corporate, I might still be in corporate, because I realize how much this plays into not only me, but really everybody in the world. Something happens and we feel a certain way, and we want to assume some intent on someone's part. But the truth is, we don't know what their intent was. We don't know what's in their head. We don't know. All we know is this happened. I felt this way, but that's all we know. And to make up stuff, it just almost always makes it worse.
It's really interesting because it takes me back to a story in my corporate life where the vice president actually came and talked to me after we had had a meeting with a group of people. And he wasn't reprimanding me in any way. He was just actually making me think about the assumptions that people make because other people were making assumptions in the meeting. And he just said, like, for example, when a senior executive asks questions, it's not to see if you know your stuff, if you have researched everything, and they're not trying to get you, or seem smarter. They're asking because they just genuinely want to know, like it's like
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
look at it that way, it's like nothing scares you anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I think assumptions are a dangerous game.
It is. And I challenge anybody out there listening to be aware and recognize how many times in a day that you do this. Because even being aware and even understanding the danger of it,
Mhm.
I still do it. I did it this morning. And I have to stop myself, but not only for the fact that I'm just making up stuff wholesale, but also I don't want that energy coming out of me but we just go to the negative sometimes too.
We do,
I
and
think it makes us feel good.
I think the cinematic community and the gaming community and stuff, I think it contributes a lot to them. I have actually a book on Hollywood coming out, by the way, which is totally unrelated. But that's the way
I
I've
love it.
so
You said
um
this is a book you have coming out
yeah,
on
it's
Hollywood? I love it. You know what? Why not? I am all
yeah,
over the place with my genres too. Screw
yeah.
it. You do what
And
you do.
like and there's reasons why, but like Hollywood is not something that fascinates me, but the history of Hollywood is phenomenal. So, like, I mean, it was, for example, it was the area was started by a Toronto businessman. We make the assumption that, Hollywood happened because of this incredible, beautiful location and, a lot of people gravitated. No, it actually happened because of a loophole in the patents that Thomas Edison had. And Thomas Edison had patented the kinetoscope, which actually was an invention by someone else. And
Well, we're bringing you back for that book because that
yeah,
sounds
it's
fascinating.
really, really fascinating. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But I think a lot of times I was just gonna say that, you know, a lot of times the cinematic universe and the gaming universe, they create these pictures in our head too, right? Or
Yeah.
like stories that have been told to us. So anything that's like that, we kind of say, okay, it's this was the moral of the story, so this is what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
But I think people need to, really need to feel that they're in charge of their future. They're in charge of what they choose to see and do. And your mind is far more powerful than you think,
Yeah.
you know? And
I completely agree. The world is not happening to you. It is happening through you, and you have the power to affect that. And I wish I had known that 5 years ago. Great segue into my favorite chapter of all, called Ego and Emotion Do Not Exist. Spoiler, they do, of course, exist, and you talk about them quite a bit in here. So, a question for you, because I have a couple of things I want to talk about in here, but how do ego and confidence differ?
so I'm sure you've heard there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance, right?
Yes.
And I think ego is a great thing. Because we need it to, assert ourselves. We need it to feel confident. But ego is a net result. It's not the instigator, right? It's you have that ego that has been built up because of something. And so I think, to me, the emotional side of that is actually what results in you having the ego. And I don't want to get too complicated, but it's I just want people to know that ego is a result of something, so it's something that you have control over, and that you don't have to assume that ego is always, the critical thing to have in order to look smarter or be smarter, or feel better about your decisions, for
Right.
example.
And everybody has ego. I think for me, my experience with overinflated egos has really been tied to what I perceived as insecurity. So a lot of the
Yeah.
ego that I saw, especially in the corporate world, was just a mask for insecurity. The more powerful and, boisterous, and I've done all of this and I'm doing this and I'm saving the company this much money and making them this, and I went to this school. Every time I heard that, I just thought, you're just insecure. That's why you have to do this, because truly powerful people keep their, as you talk about, keep your ego in
In
check.
fact,
You,
yeah.
yeah,
And it's really interesting because we've heard everybody talk about, hey, he or she's on a power trip. How many times have we heard that expression?
hundreds.
And it's oftentimes it's like talking about religion. Typically, religion is not the issue; it's the misuse of religion,
Yep,
right?
100%.
So same thing. It's not really the ego, because ego is a good thing too, right?
Yeah,
Whether it's the result of something or not, it can actually work in your favor. But the misuse of your ego, I think, is the issue, and that happens all the time. I've done it. We've all done it.
we have all. Yeah. So just a few things that I want to talk or maybe read here for you.
Yeah.
Ego blinds people to change, deafens them to advice, and convinces them they're untouchable until reality proves otherwise. The moment you stop listening, stop adapting, and start believing your own hype, the downfall isn't a question of if, it's a matter of when. Yeah, I love it. It's just you're saying is, you have to keep it in check. And you talk about the emotions too, which is another, this book is about ego and emotions, that they're not the enemy. You say, but when they go unchecked, they hijack your judgment, cloud your thinking, and send
Yeah.
you straight into self-sabotage. I think this is, it ties into what we were talking about with when you make assumptions, then you get your emotions boiling about something. I hear this all the time. There have been a number of, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 posts that I've read in the past. People steal stuff, I guess, or just can't think on their own. But very similar posts with maybe with a poll that say something like, "Should we be bringing our emotions to work? Yes, no, or whatever." And then I think you can't not bring your emotions anywhere. The trick is, as you talk about in here, is to regulate, right? We shouldn't be out there. And I love this because we know that the word emotional most often gets attributed to women, and yet this is ubiquitous. Everybody gets emotional. We just get emotional maybe more often in different ways than men do, but we all get emotional. And I think it's really important.
It's really interesting because being emotional is not a good thing, but having emotional intelligence is a great thing.
Right. Well,
You know,
and we can't not. I mean, I take issue with anybody who says, "Don't." I can't. I'm going to not bring my emotions to work. You are a human being with
exactly.
emotions. You are
Yeah.
going to have emotions at work, whatever they are.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you have to be, an asshat and yell and scream. It doesn't mean you have to have a meltdown and break down every. You can check your emotions and regulate them, but you can't not have. You can't walk into a situation and go, okay, I'm Spock now.
Yeah. I know.
And even Spock, by the way, had emotions. He just learned to regulate them. That's
Yes.
simply so.
I'm laughing at, things that I've experienced, and, people who have just like went off the deep end at me. And then, I love it when like somebody's going crazy and all of a sudden you stop and say, is that working for you?
Right.
like, like
Right.
all of a sudden it's like flat. And then it just completely changes the conversation.
Oh,
Um,
we could do a whole episode on
yeah, yeah,
those stories.
yeah. Um, but it's a good response if you ever need a good comeback. Use it.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. There's also a great quote that you have in the book. I think it might be in the same chapter. And you say, abundance doesn't come from having more. It comes from seeing differently. Can you talk a little bit about that? I
Oh
love
God,
this.
yeah. So people talk about the sort of the coin phrase right now is, having an abundance mindset as opposed to
Yeah,
a scarcity mindset. What the heck is that? You know, I mean,
I
like,
say it. I do it.
I mean, I say it too, and I'm just like, hang on a second. I really want people to understand what abundance is. It's not like there's more for everybody. It's not that sort of picture. It's because you don't have any restrictions, you can provide and experience and quote unquote have more. Because if you just think differently about it, you know, there's no restriction. There's nothing holding you back. So just think about
And
that.
that's so wonderful.
Yeah, it's liberating.
It absolutely is. I feel this when I got let go from my corporate job and I went into a panic because corporate jobs in tech pay very well and I was wanting to leave for a long time but didn't because of the money. And I really thought this is going to suck. It's really, really going to suck. And it did, but not because of the money. It sucked for other reasons for a couple months until I made the decision I wasn't going back. And then even though I'm making far less money than I did when I was in my last job, I feel so much more, infinitely more abundant because I just, like you said, I think I see things differently. I see what it's like to not be under chronic stress, what it's like to be able to do what I want to do and be creative in whatever way I damn well want to do. So I relate to that so much.
The other thing I was going to say is that, you know, the reality is that we have to upgrade our mental operating system, right? Like honestly, like you're not going to get the same different results by doing the same thing, as Einstein said.
Right.
But it's the way you think that is going to give you different results. And you know, you think a certain way and you govern yourself accordingly. You know, think about the outcome that you want and figure out the steps that you need to take to get there. It is just not that complicated. But we create all these like false impressions in our mind that don't have to be true. You know, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying, okay, you know, you put your hand in fire and it's going to really burn. It's like, that's not what I'm talking about. But it's really the way we think through things, as opposed to, well, it's cognitive rigidity, right? We
Yeah.
want to,
I am totally using your concepts and this idea of solving for the outcome and all of the great backing of that concept that is in this book. Literally just a few days ago started putting together some thought on my health and being a healthier, fitter person because that's what I want to be. And I realized that I've been fixating for years, perhaps decades, on the problem. And not the right problem. Why do I always go into the kitchen and I have to eat something? And why can I stop myself? And I've been asking myself these questions. Why can't I'm so successful in other areas. Why can't I? And I realized that I've not been really focusing on, number one, the outcome, probably the right problem too, but also not the outcome. Like who do I want to be? So I wrote down on a piece of paper, who do I want to be in 2 weeks? Just who do I want to be? And then the path to get there, will require some more thought, but I need to know who that person is to get there. I can't.
completely agree. And I went through something similar, for different reasons, but I'm definitely overweight right now, because of a lot of the meds that I take. But for me, it wasn't about losing weight. It wasn't about having this gorgeous figure. It wasn't about what people would think of me. It wasn't about any of that. I realized I just want to feel lighter. I want to feel lighter as my body. I want to have a spring in my step. I want to not have the heaviness in my head. It completely changed the way I approach things. But that's because I have to think differently. Right.
And I love it. It really has given me a different perspective because the things that I wrote down were not, eat smaller portions, don't eat after 4 p.m. That all might come into play as far as a plan, but I feel energetic. I feel just like you said, for me, the lightness for me is energy. Like I feel I'm sleeping really well and I wake up rejuvenated and inspired. I've got my mojo back. Those are the kinds of, because that's the outcome that I want versus focusing on the problem. So I just love it. And it's inspired me to use your techniques and your wonderful words to improve myself. I want to go to the comments real quick here because we've got some coming through. Stella says, I think about that all the time. The brilliant ideas and experimentation of the human mind. Everything starts in the mind. Thoughts become things. Tom, coffee. Try Indian coffee. I was in Bangalore last month. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. The coffee was great. Not all good coffee comes from Brazil.
So
Are you a
can I-
coffee drinker? Yeah.
I'm not a coffee drinker, but the one coffee that I love is South Indian coffee. So
I'm gonna.
South Indian coffee is and it's really interesting because when you go to the South India, the way they cool the coffee is they actually have it in 2 stainless steel cups or like 1 stainless, and they just pour it like this, and they do that to cool it off, not because they're trying to mix it up.
Yeah.
It's to cool it off, and they it's like way like these big streams.
I'll bet there's probably some good videos out there on that. I don't think I've ever had Indian coffee.
It's not Indian coffee, it's South Indian coffee.
South Indian. I've never had any kind of, I don't think I've had that, to my knowledge, really any Asian and in any of the Asian countries. I have recently, so I get my coffee from this place called Red Rooster, and it's they're located just outside of Roanoke, Virginia, where I used to live. So it's a couple hours away, but they ship. And every month it's different, right? And I found that I have a love for East African coffee. So there are a couple of countries where they've had monthly coffees from that are really good. But I need to try. And in fact, Tom, I don't know that I've ever had Brazilian coffee until my last batch. I got some coffee from Brazil, so I'm going to decide if I think Brazil is good. So coffee, always good. Stella says, my life is so abundant. As long as I acknowledge it, it grows because I see it and live in it every day. I love that attitude. Vandana, I have one final question for you, but is there anything else about might as far as the content that you want to bring up as far as a concept? Otherwise, people go out and buy this.
The one thing that is really critical to me is that my goal is to help people feel limitless and live limitless. And so much of what we do to ourselves, we feel stuck because we haven't upgraded our mental operating system. And there's no reason for anybody to be stuck ever. And in order to not be stuck and live limitless, you really need to create options for yourself. And that comes from making certain choices. I actually have it's not in this book, but I actually have a success model that starts with curiosity, goes through experiences, then goes through discovery, goes through choices, adaptation, recalibration, and you start the cycle again. And everything in life is cyclical. If people don't know that, everybody should keep that in mind. And the more cycles you go through like this, it's a different cycle every time. But it's this rapid thing that happens because of neuroplasticity, and the rapid succession is what leads to wisdom. It all starts with curiosity. So I would say that, if you just live in deliberate curiosity, you will have a completely different experience in life, and achieve sort of this limitless feeling, because it has completely changed my life, the way I think, and it all started with curiosity. So people say, what is the one skill? That's the one skill. My 3 words are curiosity, deliberateness, and wit. So, because I laugh a lot too, and I laugh at
love it,
smart stuff. So
I love it. I've always thought of myself as a questioner, which I attribute to being curious. So I absolutely concur with that. So Vandana, you recently had a post out where on social media where you asked people what their kryptonite is. What is your kryptonite?
Oh man, of course you would ask me that. My kryptonite is,
well, I can tell you think about it, because I will tell you my kryptonite. I had to think about it too, and I realized that my kryptonite is probably procrastination. It is, and that is probably multitasking is probably what leads to that. But yeah, procrastination. When there's something that I don't want to do, I procrastinate, and then I end up sometimes derailing because of that.
And you know what? You're completely normal, right?
Yeah,
that's what happens. I feel like I'm frozen. Am I frozen?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm just frozen.
I might be. Am I frozen? I don't know.
You're not, but I'm frozen. I'm looking at myself, and it's like I'm completely.
Nope, I can see you moving around. And
okay, good. So my kryptonite is probably, have I done enough for this world?
That's
I'm
profound.
always I'm always thinking about that. I'm always thinking about, um, you know, what can I do to improve where we're at today? And it's not about leaving a legacy. And it's like those are things, ideas we create in our mind, but it's truly have an impact. And I think it's because I was in a coma as well. I mean, I've always been a thinker like that, but because of my coma, I always think, my work on this earth is not done. That's why I'm back. And when it is, I won't be back. But to me, just, making sure that I'm living a life of, I'm not going to say, like, I hate it when people say this, living a life of purpose. Is like, what does that mean? You know, I'm
That's a
often
whole other book.
asked, yeah, I'm often asked actually if I believe everything happens for a reason, and I don't. But what I do believe is whatever does happen, make sure you give it a purpose. Otherwise, it would have happened in vain. And that's the tragic part of it. So we don't always have control over what happens, but if we use our mind to and our curiosity specifically to just be more open, the discovery and the experience that you have and the wisdom that you gain is like mind-blowing.
100%. Just checking in with the comments here, folks. We are going to be wrapping up shortly. So if you have any final comments, please get them in because we do have a little bit of a delay here. Tom says Brazilian coffee was popular in the 70s. Okay, well, that's good to know. I don't think I've ever had it.
Well, I mean, you about 𝗠𝗚𝗢𝗍𝗍.
Oh, we lost Vandana, so we're gonna go through a little bit of the. Hopefully, she'll come back on here. She must be having some bandwidth. There we go. Here she is. Don't we love technology?
I think I think I just have too many windows open to be honest. So it's like,
You know what?
my laptop's
You can never get it perfect. I have people come on and they're like, I have nothing going on. I have the same thing. I'll be glitching and I'll be like, literally, I just did a speed test and I have a gig
Yeah.
of, I don't know what it is. It's the gremlins. Anyway, so let me see. I was talking about comments. Stella said before you went off, we both looked fine. So, and then Stella says, my pathological curiosity. Well, curiosity is not a bad thing. Vandana, before we wrap up, what do you want our listeners to know? What do you have coming up?
Yeah.
What's the best way to get in touch? Where can we get your book? And of course, we will put all of this in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the electronic version is certainly available everywhere at this point. That just got confirmed. The paperback is also available, by order if it's not already there. Hardcover is coming, and Amazon is probably one of the best places to get it. But if you don't like ordering from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Chapters Indigo, like where whatever you have close by. And if they don't have it, you can just tell them to order it in, and they'll do that for you. So that's exciting. And like I said, I definitely have other books coming up. But if you buy the paperback, you actually get an email course that goes with it. It's a short 5-day thing, and I think you might just really get a kick out of it. So,
Tom says that he can't find the book on Amazon. Tom, we'll put a link out there because I know it's out there. So
Yeah.
It might just be, technology glitching. And Stella did found the book on Kindle. That's awesome. Wanda?
Yeah, I get a lot of those comments. Oh, there. Yeah, it's on Kindle. It's on Amazon. And if you type in 𝗏𝗍, 𝗏𝗍𝗏, and my first and last name.
And I have up here the link here, the bookofmight.com. Is that also a place where you can get it? Yep. So go there, get some info.
There you can, yeah, and that link keeps updating with different information, like where it's available, and there's all kinds of stuff
Awesome.
coming with that. So yeah, and then if you want to apply for any of the other books, if you have a story that you'd like to share and get credit for in the book, then I'm happy to have you do
Yeah,
that too.
absolutely.
So
We'll get that link out as well. Vandana,
yeah.
thank you so much for being my guest on The Thirsty Professional. First of all, I love you. I love your personality, your badassery, your tenacity, your bravery. I know you've gone through and continue to go through some challenging times, and you're just such an inspiration. And you support your support of strong women. You've got your group, What She Said. Just amazing. I'm so happy for you with this book. I really am. I think everybody should read this. Again, I was telling Vandana earlier that just so in tune with me and my style of writing. It's easy to read, but it's not dumbed down at all. But it's really interesting. It moves along. Great examples in here. I could talk about this book for hours. You can see how many notes that I've taken in here. This is not even including the highlights that I have in here. There were so many fuck yes moments in this book for me. So everybody go out and check this out. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes.
you. Honored, and I'm so delighted to be here and to have so much support from you. I'm blown away by that. And
I can't wait for you to come
I
out.
love
with your
you
next
too.
one. I love you so much. And I cannot wait for your next one. I mean, the next one and the next one, and the next one, you've got a spot here. So
Thank you.
I just love
Hollywood's coming next. Hollywood's coming next.
that excites me.
Yeah. It's
So,
really cool. Really cool. Like if I told you how it opened, you'd be like, what?
oh, don't tell me. You'll surprise me.
I'm
I
not
can't
gonna
wait.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you so much. All right, folks, next week, my very special guest will be Luca Giorgiantonio. So, oh my God, if you do not know Luca, you need to know. Do you know Luca?
Yeah, I do know Luca.
Yeah, he's a firecracker.
Yeah.
So I talked to Luca 5 months ago, and he was still trying to figure out what he wanted to do as an entrepreneur. Newsflash, I don't care if somebody has been in their business for 20 minutes or 20 years. That's not why this show is here. It is about people that have passion and purpose and a story to tell, right? And so I didn't care that he was still searching. I wanted him on the show. So we picked a date. He was traveling, and we picked a date in August. So this is like 4 or 5 months ago. Fast forward, he is now a Blue Zone lifestyle coach. Love this so much. I'm a big fan of the Blue Zones book by Dan. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Dan Buettner. And I'm just fascinated. If you don't know about the Blue Zones, it's pockets of people around the world that have increased longevity and fulfillment. And even though they're not related in any way to these other pockets, it's just a fascinating kind of study. Cannot wait to talk with Luca about his Blue Zone experience and how he helps people live longer, eat better, and connect more deeply. So important. I hope you'll join us. Thanks to all of the viewers out there. I appreciate you so much. If you're watching on LinkedIn, please connect, if you're not already, with myself as well as with Vandana. If you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. So much appreciated. Thank you so much. If you have any questions or feedback that we didn't get to, leave them in the comments or DM one of us if you can do that. And then congratulate yourself for getting real about your career, your purpose, and your passion. So now Miss Hattie Arbuckle, my lovely hat, and Vandana and I are going to bid you a fond farewell. Take it easy.
So fill your cup, let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
Well, that was fun.